Okay, we're there now. For some reason it didn't. Maybe I didn't go there. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay. We're continuing Rambam, the laws of Talmud Torah, of the study of Torah. And that so a teacher brings you spiritual life and a parent brings you physical life. If that's all they brought you, so the honor to your teacher is greater than the is to be a lot given to them greater than that of yeah than the father. Hold on. How come I don't see it on? Do you see it on? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's streaming. For some reason I didn't see it. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the honor or to the teacher is greater. Now, unless the father is a Torah scholar, right, even if he's not an equivalent to his teacher, he should return his lost article and then that belonging to his teacher, right? Okay. There's no greater honor than that due a teacher, and no greater awe than that due a teacher. Our sages declared, your fear of your teacher should be equivalent to the fear of heaven. Therefore, they said, but whoever disputes the authority of his teacher is considered as if he revolts against the divine presence, as implied by the verse who led the revolt against God. Right? And it was a revolt, that's Korach's revolt, and the revolt of Korach was against Moses, against Moshe Rabbeinu. And yet, how's it viewed? Against Hashem, right? So whoever engaged in controversy with his teacher is considered to engage in controversy with divine presence, as implied, and the Jews contested with God and where he was sanctified. Okay. Whoever complains against the teacher is considered as if he complains against the divine presence, as implied. Your complaints are not against us, but against God. Whoever thinks despairingly of his teacher is considered as if he taught despairingly of the divine, thought despairingly of the divine presence, as implied, and the people spoke out against God and Moses. What is meant by disputing the authority of one's teacher? A person who establishes a house of study where he sits, explains, and teaches without his teacher's permission in his teacher's lifetime. Right. In other words, you're setting up another house of study without the teacher's permission, right? If you have your teacher's permission, that's a different story, right? This applies even one's teacher is in another country. It is forbidden to even render halachic judgment of one's teacher's presence. Whoever renders halachic judgment in his teacher's presence is liable to die. The hands of heaven, not by court, by the hands of heaven. What this means over here, when we're talking about we mean here, we don't mean talking about a house of study that's coming up with halacha. Not, you're studying Rambam or you're studying Tanya or the Chumash and Rashi. That's not what it means here. That you don't need permission. You have an obligation, but that you should become a house of study that is coming out with halacha. Well, you need permission from your teacher for that. Right. To study Chumash or Rashi, you don't need permission from your teacher. That's an obligation you have. You don't have an obligation to make a house of study that is coming out with hayra, with with halacha. Okay. Now, if a person asks a student regarding a halachic question, and there's 12 mil, which is about 12 kilometers between him and his teacher, he is permitted to answer. You're not allowed to answer before your teacher. So what does it mean before your teacher? Again, if your teacher is giving you the permission, that's a different story, right? Furthermore, to prevent the transgression, it is permitted to give halachic judgment, even in the presence of one's teacher. Even in the presence of a teacher, right? Someone's coming to you and he's about to eat something that's not kosher, right? So since there's going to be a possible transgression over here, you can give the halachic rendering even in front of your teacher to make sure that that person doesn't do something wrong. So what does it imply? For example, if one sees a person perform a forbidden act because he was unaware of the prohibition or because of the perversity, you should try to prevent him by telling him this is forbidden, even though it's in front of your teacher. And your teacher, you're not giving the honor to the teacher in that respect. Despise even the teacher's presence. And even though one's teacher had not given him permission, right, to make halachic rendering. Wherever the desecration of God's name is involved, no deference is paid to the teacher's honor. Others, God's honor is more important than the teacher's honor. So here, someone is going to do something forbidden, right? And you know and notice, and this person is ignorant. For example. So there's no deference paid to a teacher's honor at that time because that someone shouldn't do a prohibition, transgress prohibition. When does the above apply? With regard to a matter that came up incidentally. However, establishing oneself as a halachic authority to sit and to reply to all who ask concerning halachic matters is forbidden, even if the student is at one end of the world and the teacher at the other, until either the teacher dies or the student receives permission from his teacher. He needs permission from him. Not everyone whose teacher dies is permitted to sit and render judgment concerning Torah law. Only one who is a student worthy of rendering judgment, right? But then, you need to be worthy, but you're not going to get permission at that time, right? Because he's passed away. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Any person who is not worthy of rendering halachic judgment and does so is foolish, wicked, and arrogant. As the verse says, she has cast down many corpses, applying to him. Conversely, a sage who is worthy of rendering halachic judgments and refrains from doing so, he holds back the spread of Torah. And places stumbling blocks before the blind. How the prodigies are those who she slew applies to him. These undeveloped students who have not gathered much Torah knowledge seek to gain prestige in the eyes of common people and the inhabitants of their city by jumping to sit at the head of all the questions of law and halachic judgments in Israel. They spread division, destroy the world, extinguish the light of Torah, and wreak havoc. in the vineyard of the God of hosts. As his wisdom, Solomon alluded to them as follows: Take for us foxes, little foxes that spoil the vineyards. Our vineyards are blooming. Okay, give me a second. I just want some water. All right. It is forbidden for a student to refer to his teacher by name, even outside his presence. He should not mention his name in his presence, even when referring to others, the same name as his teacher, as he does with the name of his father. Right? You don't call your father by his name or mother. Rather, you should refer to the others with different names, even after their death. Above applies when the name is unusual and will thus know to whom he refers, right? A student should not greet his teacher or respond to the latter's greeting as is customary when two friends exchange greetings. Rather, he should bow before him and say with awe and reverence, "Peace be unto you, my master." If his teacher greeted him, he should respond, "Peace be unto you, my teacher and master." Similarly, he should not remove his tefillin in the presence of his teacher, nor should he recline in its presence by the Pesach Seder. Thank you. By the way, when we say teacher here, this kind of teacher is like the Rebbe. Right? In the presence of the Rebbe, so you don't recline. That's what, rather you should sit before him as one sits before a king. First, you should not pray either in front of his teacher, behind his teacher, or to the teacher's side. Needless to say, one should not walk by his side. Rather, he should distance himself behind his teacher without standing directly behind him and then pray. Right. So we're talking about a great sage over here, right? Great sage. So that's it, for the Rebbe. Excuse me. One should not sit in his presence until he tells him to sit. One should not stand before him until he tells him to stand or until he receives permission to stand, meaning to depart. When one departs from his teacher, he should not turn his back to him. Rather, one should walk backwards while facing him. A person is obligated to stand before his teacher from the time he sees him as far away. So just let you know, this is like, these laws are not applying. I'm teaching you, but these laws don't apply. It's not, you know, talking about a great Torah scholar or sage, you know, the Rebbe and the like. So you're obligated to stand before the teacher and to see at the time he sees him as far away as he can see until he passes beyond his field of vision and is hidden, his figure no longer visible. Then the student may sit. A person is obligated to visit his teacher during the festivals. Deference should not be shown to a student while in the presence of his teacher, unless it is customary for his teacher also to show him deference. All the services that a servant performs for his master should be performed by a student for his teacher. However, if the student was in a place where he was not recognized and was not wearing tefillin, should the student suspect that people will say he is a servant, he need not put on his teacher's shoe or remove it. Right, because he's not recognized, so people don't think, oh, he's a servant, he's not a student. Whoever prevents his student from serving him, withholds kindness from him, and takes away his fear of heaven. So, a teacher, talk here, a Rebbe, right? Great sage. Um, so, he's not looking for a servant, but he's actually doing a favor that a person would serve him. Not that he needs it and wants it, but he's doing a great service to that individual because you gain so much um, by serving a sage. Any student who deals lightly with matter related to the honor of a teacher causes the divine presence to depart from Israel. Number 9. A student who saw his teacher transgress the words of Torah should tell him, Master, you have taught us such and such. Whenever a student mentions a teaching in the teacher's presence, he should tell him, You have taught us the following, Master. He should not mention a concept which he did not hear from his teacher unless he mentions the name of the person who authored it. When his teacher dies, he should rend all his garments until he reveals his heart. He should never mend them. When does the above apply? To one's outstanding teacher, to whom one gained the majority of his wisdom. However, a person who has not gained the majority of wisdom under the teacher's instructions is considered to be both a student and a colleague. He is not obligated to honor him in the all above matters. Nevertheless, he should stand before him, rend his garments at his death, as he does for all the deceased for whom he is obligated to mourn. Even if he learned only one thing from him, whether it be small or great matter, he should stand before him and rend his garments at his death. We don't have the custom of doing that now, to rend your garments. For it's as often as it speaks in halacha. Number 10, every student with proper character will not speak in front of anyone who is wiser than he is, even though he has not learned anything from him. An outstanding teacher may, if he desires, forego his honor with regard to any of or all of the above matters to any of or all his students. Even though he forgoes these honors, the student is obligated to respect him at the time he forgoes respect. Just as a student is obligated to honor their teacher, a teacher is obligated to honor his students and encourage them. Our sages declared the honor of students should be as dear to you as your own. A teacher should take care of his students and love them because they are like sons who bring him pleasure in this world and in the world to come. 13. Final halacha, students increase their teacher's wisdom and broaden his horizons. Our sages declared, I've learned much wisdom from my teachers and even more from my colleagues. However, my students, I learn most of all. Just a small branch is used to a large bough. So too, each small student sharpens the teacher's thinking process until, through his questions, he brings forth brilliant wisdom. Chapter 6, let's do the first halacha. It's a mitzvah to respect every Torah scholar, even if he's not one's teacher. So it states, stand up before a white-haired man and respect an elder. The word zaken, translated as elder, alludes to the Hebrew words meaning one who has acquired wisdom. When is one obligated to stand before him? When he approaches within 4 cubits of him and until he passes him. Okay.